On today's Primetime Local News, we head to City Council, and on the agenda, your taxes and lands on arrears. And will the border city get more flights? Hear what WestJet's public affairs manager has to say about that.
More people are flying with us, but there are some challenges to an increase in service.
Plus, Friday night saw another Barons team in town, the Fort McMurray Oil Barons. Could this be the Bobcats' second win of the season?
And the idea that, we're close and we're almost there, and we can't keep saying that. We got to find ways to be there and put it in.
Hey, I'm Eric Bay, and tonight we have braved the chilly weather and made our way out to Kid Scotty. And at the Kid Scotty Hall, we're going to be checking out their upcoming Comedy Night fundraiser happening this Friday. So everything you need to know from that, we're going to have it all from here throughout the rest of the show.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening, I'm Judy Gabriel. We begin tonight with a look at City Council's plan for the border city. A lot was discussed at the council meeting today. We head out to Josh Ryan now with more on the agenda and the focus of discussion at City Council.
After discussion around tax enforcement of several properties that are owing in unpaid taxes, they then approved the remuneration policy update. We've covered that previously on Primetime Local News, which will see a slight increase in per diems for both the mayor and city councilors. However, they made sure to stress that that per diem is in line with other areas in the region, particularly throughout Alberta, and it's not certainly an overpay when you look at other communities. It's also meant to be more of a transparent posting of what the per diem is throughout the community ahead of the 2020 election for whoever ends up serving on council and as the mayor in the future. A longer discussion also came around the buildings report of several buildings in the community that are unfortunately falling into a certain level of disrepair. Places such as the Civic Center, the Community Services Building, the Heritage Building, all require a ton of work going forward if they are to resume operations or continue operations. And this was troubling news to some of the council members, particularly because ahead of budget season, this could require a ton of work down the road and could be perhaps a bad investment of time and money rather than possibly looking for new buildings such as the Civic Center's replacement if that were the case down the road. So they're asking for feedback from the public moving forward. There will be a number of town hall type meetings in the coming months that they hope to hear more from the community about what they should do to address that particular situation. Back to you guys in studio.
Thanks, Josh. With the sudden drop in weather this week, Lloydminster Police want to share a few tips on how to make your morning commute a little safer. Roads are now icy, meaning drivers will have more troubles with their takeoffs and stops. For Lloydminster Police, the message is simple: slow it down a few notches.
Just slow down. Give yourself extra time to get where you need to go. There's no rush.
Another point that police stress is understanding the risk of leaving your car with its keys in the ignition to help warm it up.
If you do need to keep it nice and warm and you want to keep it warmed up, make sure you are sitting in it as you are warming it up. A lot of our vehicle thefts are crimes of opportunity, and our people who are stealing our vehicles are just walking by, checking door handles, seeing a running vehicle with its keys in it, and they're stealing the vehicle.
Well, other precautions drivers can take is to make sure to have proper tires and to carry a snow brush. Over the past few years, the flights out of the border city have been steadily improving with WestJet's purchase of Pacific Coastal Airlines. Flights goers have seen more reliability, although a few questions commonly arise concerning flight times and new destinations. Today, the Rotary meeting featured WestJet's public affairs manager, and as our Jasmine King explains, he seemed to have the answers to some of the questions.
The Rotary meeting was full of curious border city residents who wanted to learn more about the flight service WestJet offers, as well as if they will be seeing an increase in flights or destinations.
We're very grateful to the people of Lloydminster, as well as the other link communities, for using the service. And if there's a way that we can increase the service, we would love to be able to do that, because obviously it means that more people are flying with us. But there are some challenges to an increase in service, and we have to take that away and do some have some discussions with our folks here. We also have to make sure that the aircraft, there are additional aircraft available if we are to increase service.
The question that came up a few times by Rotary members was if they could see a second flight coming out of the airport rather than one a day.
We're not sold out on a consistent enough basis yet to justify a second flight. But nonetheless, the mayor made a compelling argument about hoping to receive additional service, and we've heard from the business community that the time of day would be better served. They would be better served.
Another concern that frequently comes up is passengers wondering if the flight time could change to earlier in the day, as the current flight flies out at around 4 o'clock.
If we could increase or pull back the time to have a morning flight instead of an afternoon flight. When you have an afternoon flight and you arrive at about 5:30 in Calgary, you have fewer choices, obviously, than if you were to arrive at 10 or 11 in the morning. So if there was a possibility to move that to a morning flight, obviously that's something we would have to discuss.
The main flight for the Lloydminster Airport is Calgary, and an increase in destinations is something a lot of people would like to see. Palmer says with the addition of other destinations, that in turn could end up hurting the air service more than helping it.
One of the challenges with a second destination would be where. And if you were to go to Edmonton, for example, as a second destination, you would be pulling some of those people off the Calgary flight who are currently going to Edmonton. So you might end up inadvertently weakening your Calgary service. Plus, we don't have as many options out of Edmonton as we do. We have double the number of destinations available for people out of Calgary.
Palmer also mentions he's happy to see that Lloydminster and area residents are utilizing the flights, and an increase in passengers could see those changes come sooner. Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
For 9 years now, the Lloydminster Exhibition Association has been putting on a harvest festival as a way to celebrate the local food, the harvest, as well as everything that agriculture brings to the community. In this week's retrospect, Abby St. John takes a look at what this event means to the community.
Another opportunity for families to come out, see what Lloydminster businesses have to offer. Our winters are very long here in Alberta, so it's just another great opportunity to get out for businesses to be able to showcase their products and what they're all about.
Flash forward to today, and this year's Harvest Festival is a little over a week away to celebrate the ag in this area and the local producers, but also it's a chance to enjoy great food that will be provided.
It's really a terrific evening. We have a number of stations set up around the room, and your ticket includes some tokens, so then you can use your tokens at whichever food station you'd like to. The beef, the bison, the poultry, the pork, the veggie, the dessert. In the last couple of years, we've also combined it with some beer pairings.
This event is also a great way to learn more about the ag industry.
I think one of the pieces, in addition to celebrating our local ag industry, which is an important part of the economy in Lloydminster, it also helps us to bridge that rural-urban connection and help inform urban people a little bit more where and their food comes from and what is available in this area.
Each year the event gets bigger and more people come out to enjoy the evening.
We definitely are over 300 people come to attend this event. So, that's a lot of prep work for some of our volunteers and our kitchen catering staff because of all the different kinds of dishes and meats and sides that go along with it.
Tickets for the event are available on Eventbrite, or you can get them at the Lloyd X office. The ticket will be then traded in for tokens at the event.
You can buy more tokens, and there's all kinds of great atmosphere. It is a come and go, and so that you don't have to actually be here when it starts at 5. Also, there's no other program going on. You just get to come and sample the different foods and socialize a bit and enjoy.
The Harvest Festival is on November 7th from 5 o'clock to 7, and that's it for this week's Retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Web Sport. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now we head over to Eric Bay on location at Kitscoty.
Once again, we are back here today out in Kitscoty, and we are going to be taking a look at their Comedy Night fundraiser happening here later in the week. And I'm joined now by Charlotte Fogarty, and now this is all going towards your guys' Rugrat Play School. So first off, can you talk a little bit about the Play School itself?
Yeah, well, we have a new setup, basically a new beginning this year. We have new teachers, a new facility, an entirely new curriculum, which is great. The kids are loving it. They're having a great time. They're learning so much. So with the new teachers, like we have Mrs. Stang and Miss Janae, and they are just great. They're great with the kids. They're having a great time, and it's a whole lot of fun for everybody. Like it's been a lot of work getting everything going, and you know, we have had some issues, but so far it's just running. Once the school year started, it's running smoothly.
No, that's good to hear for sure. Now, how important are these funds raised on Friday night going to be towards the Play School?
Well, we are an entirely nonprofit, so this helps with our operating costs. It helps with paying the teachers' salaries, all the crafts, any field trips. It pays for all of that, and this is our biggest one for the year.
All right, thank you for this, and we are going to have some more from back here again out in Kitscoty talking about their Comedy Night fundraiser going on here this weekend. But before that, we're going to head back into the studio.
It's -9 here in the border city as of right now, and the wind speeds are at 28 kilometers per hour coming in from the north-northwest, which could come up to around 40 kilometers overnight, and it's sitting at -18 for the windshield as of right now. And our satellite radar, we see some possible flurries during today in the Maidstone, Macklin, North Battleford area, and then also in the Edmonton and Vegreville area, they saw some flurries. We saw a bit here in the morning, but it did die down as the day went on, but that wind definitely did blow the snow all around. And now look at your in-depth regional temperatures. -8 in Cold Lake, -7 in Athabasca and Edmonton, -9 in Edson, Rocky Mount House, and in Red Deer, -8 in Whitecourt, and -5 in Jasper. And on the Sask side, -7 in North Battleford and Melfort, -8 in Saskatoon and Meadow Lake, and -6 out in Prince Albert. Now overnight across the region should be fairly clear for most of the region. Isla Cross and Paradise Hill could see some flurries overnight and into tomorrow, but for the rest of the region, it should be a little bit more clear. Here in Lloydminster, we could see a little bit of flurries overnight, which should die down by tomorrow, but it'll be -12 overnight, and -6 is the daytime high for tomorrow, with that wind coming at 17 kilometers per hour and a low of -12. And then on Wednesday, we get above 0 with 1 as the daytime high and -14 as the daytime low, with mostly cloudy skies. And then on Thursday, we could see our first peak of sun in a while, with a high of +3 and a low of -3 to finish out the day. So we may get a little break from the snow and from the clouds, just a little bit, and the freezing temperatures. But that's a look at your 3-day forecast. We'll have your 7-day forecast later on in the show.
Welcome back. The West Central Saskatchewan community of Rosetown is grappling with a major loss. Late Saturday night, the town's co-op agro center burned to the ground. General Manager Mike Moon says crews were able to spare the fertilizer bins, and fortunately no one was hurt. The cause of the blaze is still under investigation. And now we go to your agriculture prices for the day.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
On Friday's wet and chilly night, the two high school football teams battled for the Wheatland Football League Championship. The two top teams, when it came to scoring in the regular season, didn't put up the numbers expected. 13-8 was the final score in favor of the Barons.
There's so many good players on both teams. I think you don't want to give the other team an inch, so you're a little bit cautious on defense. And the weather obviously played a huge role. We were unable to push the ball down the field.
This is the second year in a row the Barons have claimed victor. Both teams are still in the provincial hunt with the North semifinal action here in Lloydminster, November 9th. The Lakeland Rustlers basketball teams came into their home opener on Friday evening looking to rebound from a tough road loss that evening before against the Nadukes. Fortunately for the home crowd, both teams delivered through in very different fashion. After a competitive first half, the women's team ran away with the contest in the second half, paced by rookie Taylor Pipes and player of the game, Angela Barron.
You saw that out of Pipes coming off the bench, and all of our post players were good, and Ange Barron stepped up with no Tory and played 40 minutes of awesome basketball.
The men nearly ruined a second half comeback by giving up an Ooks triple to trail by 2 before fifth-year Ricardo Joseph finished with back-to-back layups within less than 10 seconds to go.
Me guarding the tough guys, sometimes it was Terrell, sometimes it was Akeem. You know, we did a good job as a team.
When we start putting a lot of pressure on teams and turning them over and speeding them up, it makes the game a little bit easier for us, and I think that's how we have to play moving forward.
Both teams are back in action Friday evening. Friday night saw another Barons team in town. The Fort McMurray Oriole Barons came to the Civic Center for games on Friday and Saturday night. The Cats are still looking for their second win on the season. Could this be the weekend it happened? After good starts in both games, the Bobcats unfortunately would not find their second win in either game. There's good bits and pieces throughout each game, but the boys couldn't tie together a W.
And the idea that, you know, we're close and we're almost there, and we can't keep saying that. We got to find ways to be there and put it in.
The Bobcats travel to Spruce Grove for a game tomorrow night before coming home and playing the host to the 7th place Drayton Valley Thunder on Friday. Now to our Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Back here once again at the Kid Scotty Hall, and today we are taking a look at the Comedy Night fundraiser being held here on Friday for Rugrats Play School here in Kid Scotty, and I'm joined once again by Charlotte Fogarty. So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here at the fundraiser on Friday night?
Yeah, well, the doors open at 6:30. We have two amazing comedians, Todd Ness and Mark McHugh. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a dance in the evening after everything's done. We have a great midnight lunch. It's a Ukrainian-style buffet with lots of bacon. And we are doing a raffle, silent auction. It's just going to be a great time. And yeah, the comedian starts at 8 o'clock and should be wrapped up about 10. And then, yeah, that's when the food comes out, the drinking, the dancing. We do have a $5 bar, and then the raffle tickets are pay as well. And then, yeah, we have great donators for the silent auction items. There's going to be a lot to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Tons of great stuff for sure. Now, if people do want to come out here and check that out on Friday, how can they do so?
Well, the tickets are $40 each. They're available at the village office, or you can contact our play school and they can set you up with Cynthia, and she can get you tickets as well. The corporate tables are $400. That's 8 people, and that'll give you 8 drink tickets or 2 bottles of wine as well.
All right, and now you guys, this is your 16th year putting this on, so talk about the response from the community in the past for this fundraiser event.
We've had great response in the past. It's always been packed. This year we are struggling a little bit. You know, some years might have been a little bit smaller, but this year we do have great donators, and I think that'll definitely kind of put the drive into people to want to come out and be with, you know, the community. And it's been lots of laughs in the past, and we're really hoping that that'll kind of come through this year as well.
All right, thank you for this, and we're going to have some more from back here again talking about their Comedy Night fundraiser, but before that we're going to head back into the studio.
All right, taking a look at current temperatures, it is still -9 here in Lloydminster, -8 in most of the region on the Alberta side, with 8 in Vegreville, Vermilion, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and Cold Lake, and Marwayne. And in Provost, -9 in Wainwright, -7 in Edmonton and Lac La Biche. And on the Saskatchewan side, -7 North Battleford, Maidstone, Green Lake, Isle Cross, and Pearceland, -8 in Meadow Lake, St. Walburg, and -9 in Macklin. Now tomorrow's forecast, -6 here in Lloydminster, as well as in Maidstone, -3 in Meadow Lake, Green Lake, -4 in Isle Cross, Pearceland, North Battleford, and in Macklin. And on the Alberta side, -5 in Provost, Wainwright, Vermilion, Marwayne, and St. Paul, -4 in Vegreville, Lac La Biche, and Bonnyville, -3 in Cold Lake, and -2 in Edmonton. Now your school day forecast for tomorrow, -12 is the projected temperature for 8 a.m. and then by recess it should be sunny with -10, and then by lunchtime it will be -8, and then by the time school is out it will be -6. Over the next 7 days will be above 0 on Wednesday with a +1 and -14 as the daytime low, and then Thursday we get a chance of some sun with a mix of cloud in there with a high of +3 and a low of -3. And then on Friday, 2 is the daytime high and -4 is the low, with a little bit less sun than Thursday, but still peeking through the clouds. And then on Saturday, there's a 56% chance of some rain and snow mix with a high of 3 and a low of -3. And then on Sunday, a 35% chance of some flurries with a high of 2 and a low of -1. And then on Monday, a high of -4. We get back below 0 and a low of a -10. And we're around our averages for this time of year, a little bit lower, with our average high being 5 degrees and our average low being -6. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Once again, we are back out here today in Kitscoty, checking out their Comedy Night fundraiser, their 16th held here in Kitscoty, and that is happening here at the Kitscoty Hall this Friday. And joining me once again is Charlotte Fogarty, and now we talk, this all goes towards the Rugrat Play School. So talk about the importance of having that play school here in the community of Kitscoty.
Yeah, well, it definitely gets the kids ready for kindergarten, because it is a big transition going from, whether it's daycare or the play school to kindergarten. So we don't want the kids to be overwhelmed. We want them to be ready. We want them to have that focus and the understanding. And this play school has done a great job with that. They learn new things every week. They're learning the focus, that this isn't just a free-for-all, that you actually have to sit and do your work. And this play school is so important for that, because it definitely gets them ready. And the teachers are amazing with that. They help the kids one-on-one. It's not like a big 30 kid classroom. It's one-on-one, and they know each kid personally, and they know what they need help with, and that's huge. My daughter is crazy, and they're being great with her. They learn so much. The letters, numbers, shapes, colors. They have different stations, and they do different crafts, and it all ties into this new curriculum that the teachers have put together, and it's great. Some other play school, they might not have that personal connection with the kids, and they might just be thrown into kindergarten and have absolutely no idea what is expected of them or what they're doing. And it's great for the parents too, to be able to see the difference in the kids, even in just this first month or so.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. And we are going to have some more from back here again, continuing with their Comedy Night fundraiser. But before that, we're going to head back into the studio.
Well, it's that time again for Question of the Day, and of course a lot of you have been weighing in on our social media, Facebook pages, and as well as the other ones. And the question of the day today that's gotten a lot of people talking is, should tech firms have legal responsibility to keep users safe on social media, or is it the responsibility of parents to keep an eye on how they use social media apps? The question really stemmed up from the recent controversy surrounding the popular teen video sharing app TikTok, which has a lot of people talking about it. It has 13 million downloads per day. It's alarming for parents. What are your thoughts?
Well, taking a look at the comments that we had received, a lot of people chiming in saying that it is the parents' responsibility, but a couple of them did say that the companies have some sort of responsibility due to privacy, because these apps are garnered to young children, 13 and under, 13 and up, what have you. They are all garnered to young children, and more, the younger they are getting on social media. And so I think definitely they do have some responsibility, but it's the parents for sure that need to monitor everything.
Of course, and a lot of you have been chiming in and giving us a little bit of what your thoughts are. Can you read us some of that stuff? I know a lot of them have been saying a lot of different things coming up, right?
Yes. So a couple people say that one person chimed in and said that yes, the company has responsibilities, but parents have the majority of the responsibility, which is something that I would agree with, because the companies do have that responsibility for privacy reasons, like with the whole controversy around Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and the privacy. So they have responsibilities for that, but the parents should monitor what their kids are posting. If they're posting things, they should know what they are.
I definitely agree, and I think parents should take some kind of precaution. They are their children and they are under 13, so that's a good thing. And now to the cutest part of our show, it's pet pads, and here's a look at some of the pets that we have.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
It's primetime sports talk coming up here on our brand new set of furniture. I gotta say, it feels like I'm sitting on a throne right now.
Yeah, it does. We were talking about it a little bit off camera, and it just feels that wide, almost like you're royalty here, Josh.
Yeah, well, I should be royalty anyway. We're just kidding, of course. Looking forward to another busy week after what was already a very busy week in the border city. And we'll start in the world of football, where the Wheatland final took place on Friday. Supposed to be plus 12. Turned out to be a little bit cooler than that. Certainly rainy and windy conditions for the teams and the spectators involved. But the Lloydminster Barons defend their title, winning 13-8 over the Holy Rosary Raiders. Trailed for much of the game, but managed to gut it out in the end in a game that really was sort of tailored to the way the Raiders play.
For sure, with that weather, just trying to run the ball and pound it down the other team's throat, that, it typically would work out for the Raiders, but as we see, the Barons sort of stepped up at the end there. Head coach Aaron Harper, he was mentioning that, it was tough to sort of get that momentum going just with the weather elements. So it's good to see, they've obviously figured it out how to get that ball rolling and trying to pick up some yards there.
And obviously, Anton Amandroud being able to run the ball made a big difference for them, running touchdown, and also just providing a different look for when he can't connect with his receivers when the weather's bad.
For sure, just that being that dual threat quarterback, it opens up so many more options. A lot of teams in the high school league, you don't see their, whether their quarterback isn't, quite up to the throwing par, or maybe, he's not as mobile, more of a pocket passer. But when you have one like Anton Amandroud, you can really take advantage of that in sort of all situations. He can play.
And that's a second elite runner when you consider Matthew Morin as the running back. Obviously, time with Team Alberta this summer paid huge dividends throughout this season as well. And now both teams, obviously some disappointment for the Raiders not being able to take home the Wheatland title, one that until last year they've dominated recently. Now they both have provincial semifinal games in terms of their region. So regional semis before a regional final, assuming both teams win their various regional semis. Then they would move on to the provincial competition as well. And they have a couple of tough teams potentially. It's up in the air who exactly they'll play at this point. But we know that not this week, where they have a bye. The following week, both the Barons and the Raiders will be at home, likely on the Saturday, at the respective fields.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to be hosting, as both teams were some of the highest ranked teams for their divisions in Alberta. I believe there's a good chance Holy Rosary could be taking on Sylvan Lake, who they have seen before. So that could be a tight duel, and especially after, Holy Rosary has that chip on their shoulder, not winning the Wheatland Championship. So expect them to really come out and really battle through.
And then, of course, they hope to meet Cochrane High in the final down the road, a team that they've lost to repeatedly over the last few years. The Barons, meanwhile, could probably face St. Joe's at some point over the next couple of games, a team they're also familiar with. And having this bye this weekend, that does give them a bit of a breather, which is nice considering how tough their last game was.
For sure. Their last couple of games have been really just grinding it out play, and especially with the weather on Friday night, they had to, maybe grind it out even more than they were sort of hoping to do. So this bye week gives them some time to heal up from injuries, but as well just game plan for that regional semifinals.
And of course, it's not bad to have a little bit of practice with bad weather heading into that. And of course, do you think we'll have two teams playing in the provincial finals, or do you think there's a chance someone upsets them?
I don't know. Just looking at these teams and the situations, the Barons are going to be rolling with that momentum. Meanwhile, like I said, Holy Rosary has that chip. So, that could push both teams to that limit.
And we'll see if they do get indeed pushed to the limit at the Tier 2 and Tier 3 level, respectively. Back in the studio to talk some sports with Evan Kenny. The Rustlers basketball teams kicked off their season. The volleyball gets a little break last weekend on a bye weekend. Basketball back in action, had their season opener Thursday, home opener on Friday, and season opener was a little tough. Both teams playing fairly tough NAIT squads on the other side. In the case of the men, they were sitting first in the division, and a tough go for both. 5-point loss for the women, 4-point loss for the men, both rebounding on Friday nicely, especially the women. While it was a close first half, while missing two players, they end up running away with it with a 21-point win.
For sure, they really got on a hot streak where they just kept getting runs, a couple and ones, as you would say, going for their side. And it seemed like NAIT just really cooled off. NAIT hadn't actually lost a game until that Friday night bout. So it's good to see, Lakeland's carrying on that bronze medal finish, and they're looking to be, one of the contenders once again.
And those 2-and-1s back-to-back by Taylor Pipes, that was in the third quarter of Friday night's contest in particular, really did break open the game. The Rustlers already had a lead at that point that they had increased since the first half, but that extra bunch of two back-to-back possessions with a lot of momentum and halting the Ooks' ability to get the ball on the offensive side really kind of ended the game at that point.
For sure, when you can get 6 points in that quick of a time span, it really just, it's almost more of a mental game at that point. You shut down the Ooks, they almost feel defeated at that point, and then trying to claw your way back from that, it makes it that much more of a struggle.
And we have obviously Taylor Pipes getting those points off the bench, the rookie Australian doing a nice job while recovering from an injury. You also have Angela Barron in her 4th season, who's finally starting to show some promise as a point guard. And both in how she sort of elevated her game late in the game, if this team does that more often, instead of having these sort of grind out victories, they can run away potentially with the North Division, because that's a really good NAIT team that they spanked in the second half.
For sure, beating any team by 21 points, that's something impressive. But like you said, doing it against a NAIT team who's going to be one of your main competitions, another one top of those standings, it's really good to see, and they'll really want to continue that momentum on. Like you said, they could run away with the North. If they can continue to do that, game in, game out, that's huge for the program.
And on the flip side, the men obviously still sort of figuring out their offense because of the loss of Tay Holiday. They win in dramatic fashion on Friday night with Ricardo Joseph getting the game-winning basket. That's a huge win against a first-place team as well.
For sure, another team that hadn't lost until they played the Rustlers at home. And just, being able to claw your way through that victory with a buzzer beater and, missing shots, being able to grind in the paint when, they're quite a small team this season. So that's really good to see, and it's nice to see they can win games and, really battle through those tough scenarios.
Especially with some of the smaller sized guys they have having to defend multiple positions. Now, really quickly, we have to touch on the unfortunate continued struggles of the Lloydminster Bobcats. They had a pair of tough, hard-fought contests against the Fort McMurray Oil Barons this weekend, but were not able to pull out a victory in either competition.
Yeah, they were up 2-0 in the first game. They just couldn't couldn't figure it out how to control the puck long enough or shut down the Oil Barons, who the Oil Barons have been hot. They're I believe they're 5th place now in the North, and that's a very strong North division. So, to contain them to a 4-2 and a 2-1 loss, which 2-1 loss, that final goal was a little bit of a heartbreaker for goaltender Josh Diaz, who really stood on his head.
And he has been the only Bobcat to really stand on his head, and someone else will have to join him in that department if they are to break their losing streak.